ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Eagle Eye Podcast, episode 23. We're excited. We're back. It's World Cup time, and there's nothing like it. So, as always, let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Dylan Jimenez. Dylan, how are we?
It's a beautiful day, man. It's the start of the World Cup, and everything's going good.
That's right. Happy first day of the World Cup to you, my friend. Something that only comes around every 4 years. Of course, we're excited and ready to talk about some Mexico and how far they can get into this competition and much, much more. And to do so, we invited a very special guest, a good friend of the show. First time being on here. You guys may know him from his witty Twitter and his tweets. He's the staff writer and the media representative of the Stoppage Time, Spicy Food and Horror Move Enthusiastic, and most recently, my health guru, Mr. Brian. How are we?
I'm glad to be here. I'm doing very well. I'm glad to be the witty additive to this great podcast.
And that is exactly what you are. You're gonna be the perfect balance for me and Dylan here on the UI podcast. All right, gentlemen. Well, we got lots and lots to talk about. We're gonna go into detail on this whole Mexico-Germany game. Of course, our blood is rushing. We're ready to talk about this, and we're ready to get this team out there. But before so, we're gonna talk a little bit about what happened in the Denmark friendly, and we're gonna discuss exactly what went wrong and a little bit of things that we saw that went right. And then, of course, we're gonna talk the big news, which is the Diego Reyes injury, and then, of course, maybe we'll talk a little bit about this whole World Cup coming to, the United States and Mexico, as well as Canada. So, you gentlemen ready to jump into this?
Yes, sir.
Let's do this.
Alrighty. So, as we know in the previous podcast, we were talking about this Denmark-Mexico friendly and really hyped up about this because we thought we were going to see the best performing. We're going to see the potential starting 11, and we were going to see the best football we've ever seen from this Mexican national team. Of course, we all hyped ourselves up for nothing because at the end of the day, Mexico ends up losing 2-0 in what seemed to be not the best game of our lives, especially, just a week away from the World Cup. So, Dylan, I'm going to throw this to you first. Obviously, we were hyped up about this. We thought that Juan Carlos Osorio was going to give us the best 11 possible, but you saw the team that got fielded out, and it really didn't give you that kind of sense. So, you see everything we were talking about. We were hyping this game up. Exactly how do you feel once the final whistle blows and we end up losing the way we did?
It's a little worrisome too. You're not obviously seeing the potentially best 11 that Juan Carlos Osorio can put out too in this game. So a lot of mixed feelings coming out of this actually for me a little bit. A lot whenever going to Twitter, a lot of people saying that we look bad. A lot of people remembering and refocusing. Obviously, 4 years ago we lost 2 friendlies prior to the World Cup. Obviously, though, we didn't have Juan Carlos Osorio as a manager then. We had Piojo. So just really a lot of mixed feelings too, going toward the end of the game too. Whenever the final whistle blew.
Brian, how is it that you took this defeat against Denmark? How did you break it down exactly?
Well, the first half I was really pleased to see because it was like a complete, like, Osorio just took out names and started throwing them on a piece of paper. That's how it felt like he lined that up. And you got, players that are just, fighting for a spot. You got Peralta out there who came in late against Scotland. So I was like, well, maybe they can put something together. He had Gio ended up playing out wide. But they held their own. But what was frustrating to see is, you have a bunch of subs and then like Gallardo kind of gets tangled up trying to mark the one player. There's the first goal, it's a golazo. And I'm kind of walking away like bitter, but not too bitter, because they kind of held their own when it was like everybody was going 100%. And I think maybe they just kind of took their foot off the pedal. And, we've been dealing with injuries, so maybe it wasn't that big of a deal to them. I'm hoping that's the case, but when you have so many different lineups, I'm just wondering, like, are these players confident with what Osorio wants to put out there?
And that's a very good thing to be questioning, because I think you look back at, like you said, the first half looked really really well in retrospective to everything that happened within the 90 minutes. It looks like they were holding their own. Of course, a couple surprises, like you said. I think the biggest one was at the striker position for me was Oribe Peralta getting the start ahead of maybe Chicharito or Raul Jimenez. One of those two players you would have imagined trying to compete for that starting position. And I think the thing that worried most fans was the fact that we didn't see that starting 11 that we were hoping to see. We were hoping to see something close to what we were going to see against Germany. And I think we can all fairly say that this was not something that we are probably going to see come Sunday. And if it is, then should we be a little bit worried?
No, in a sense, because obviously, the substitutions you see, with some of the players that are on the field too, the people that are getting substituted in, I feel like are going to be part of the starting 11 too. Chicharito, Hervin Lozano, and possibly Miguel Layun too in that starting 11. So it's something that you see come out. Obviously mistakes too in the second half, a lot of mistakes too, leading to those two goals. But you wanted to see it to come out with a bang. With seeing a good starting 11 coming out too, which we didn't see.
Do you have that starting 11 against Denmark?
Yeah, I got it right here.
You might name it?
It was Ochoa in goal, Carlos Salcedo, Hugo Ayala, Hector Moreno, Jesus Gallardo, Hector Herrera, Giovanni Dos Santos, Jonathan Dos Santos, Andres Guardado, Jesus Corona, and Oribe Peralta.
Okay. So then, I think first let's talk about maybe two positives in that matchup. Was the fact the return of Hector Moreno and Andres Guardado. How did you see those both play, Brian?
Well, Guardado was really going at it. I mean, he looked like he wanted to show that he was physically fit. Moreno looked a little bit hesitant. Not sure if that was just a confidence thing or if he's still feeling not 100%. But at least, Guardado took some hits too. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he did.
But at least he looked like he was ready. He's like, all right, let's go. Let's get one last game where we can, go head to head with the team, but unfortunately didn't get the result. But I think he looked okay. Moreno not as much.
Should we be a little bit worried in Moreno's case that we might not be able to see him 100% come Germany, or do you think by Sunday he should be up and ready to go?
You would hope he'd be ready to go if he gave Osorio the thumbs up to go against Denmark, and you get another week till the next game. I'm hoping he's ready. Like I said, maybe this was just him kind of just hesitant, maybe not wanting to go that full 100, which makes sense. Like I said, you don't want to have an Araujo case again, like where you go in one tackle and it's like, okay, that was too hard. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
I'm assuming. Let's just assume from right here, it was just a confidence thing. He'll be ready for the next game.
I hope so too. Do you think 45 minutes was more than enough for these guys, or should they have gotten more time?
Well, that's a problem. I think we should have gone back a few games and started throwing in at least 8 consistent, and then in and out maybe of another 3 to test. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Osorio's been throwing out a whole different bunch of things. So I don't know what to expect. I would have liked to see more players. There were 6 subs in that game, which again, that kind of makes that not as bitter of a loss, because it's like, obviously 6 subs is not going to happen in another game. And you're just trying to get reps in for players. So, that's as much as I can say, to be honest.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I think me and Dylan can both agree with that. Dylan, a lot of talk about Giovanni Santos' goal against Scotland. Gets the start against Denmark. How did you see his performance? Because I think for the most part, I think we can all agree that it was exactly what some people were expecting, and a lot of people were expecting more. What was your take on it?
Yeah, just like you said, I was expecting a little bit more from Giovanni. Obviously, the goal, obviously, and you see him run over to Juan Carlos Osorio too, seeing it as a trust and a boost of confidence. But you don't see that against Denmark. To me, he was just non-existent. I feel like he wasn't on the pitch. I feel like he didn't really contribute to the team going forward. And, that's something the team lacked too a little bit was and going forward a little bit too.
No, yeah, I agree. And you thought maybe the performance was going to be better because of course you saw who was lining up with him was his brother. And we know how much they've wanted to make this reality this dream a reality where they both go and they both play in the World Cup, especially after, the results of last World Cup where Jonah was cut off right before the World Cup, and you really didn't see much of both players actually. And I know we were talking about this earlier, Brian, before the show. This isn't the same Jonah we were expecting.
Well, that's the thing is like ever since he made his move away from Villarreal, like he's had decent games, and I thought he looked decent leading up to the Denmark game. But the only thing that worried me was he didn't look as sharp as he did, let's say, maybe last year against Portugal, and the way he would jockey and mark a player, like it just looked uncomfortable. And I'm not sure if that was just I'm not quite sure if maybe it was a travel thing or he's worried about who's behind him or whatnot. And then over to Gio, I mean, there was a couple plays where like it seemed like he was going to make a run, and then the pass came, and then like maybe it was a poor pass, but it looked like he didn't quite run the full way, and it's like that's not quite what we want to see at this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. A week away, and Gio stopping and halting his runs when maybe he should have continued. There was a couple of times where I remember a pass being thrown to him, and maybe it was a little bit ahead of him, and he didn't really make the effort to go for it. He just kind of saw that it was a little bit too far and just kind of just let it go, and was
Right.
kind of saying like,
Yeah.
why'd you give it to me like that? Instead, you would have wanted to at least sprint, try to give some effort towards it, but it's unfortunate. So ultimately, the first 45 minutes, how would you sum that up, Dylan?
I'd give it a solid B, pretty much. I mean, there are some things there too that needed tweaking. Obviously, going back a little bit too about Hector Moreno, obviously not what you want to see from him, especially since he's been a starter off and on for Mexico too as well. But the game as the game went on, I see him fitting in a little bit more, getting better. It's just I wish he had a little bit more playing time too as well. But that first half, yeah, I give it a solid B at most.
Solid B. Do you concur with that, Brian?
Yeah, I agree with him 100%. Especially given how the lineup was just thrown out again, and it wasn't quite the lineup we were expecting. You're the road team. You held it 0-0, had some opportunities. Yeah, B sounds good for me and for the first 45.
Okay, a B sounds all right, fair. I think defensively at the first 15-20 minutes we looked a little shaky.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Denmark pressed us and they went at us, and you could see that maybe we weren't 100%, tactically grounded. Of course, Ochoa made one big save, and then after that, I think after that Ochoa save, I think the team kind of realized that they needed to kind of get themselves together, and I think that's when you saw Moreno, get himself adapted more to the game, and you saw the team, flourish a little bit more than what they were in the first couple of minutes. But I agree with you too. I think a B, it's a pretty good grade to give the national team for the first half. But come the second half, I think we automatically can concur that it's not a B performance. It was way worse than that.
Yeah, there's too many mistakes in the second half, really.
So, do we want to chuck this up to poor mistakes, or do we want to chuck it up to the fact that there was substitutions which kind of disrupt the way the team is playing, Brian?
I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, Gallardo's was playing in that one play since the beginning. At the end, the first goal, he literally got shook out of his shoes. So there's really not much of an excuse of that. But in terms of the offensive end, in terms of the attack, I think you can chuck that one up to substitutions and just, again, different lineups every game. It's hard to get a rhythm. I mean, even if you play a local rec league, you understand, like, players don't show up. It's like, and then they show up another game. You don't have the same chemistry. You know what I mean?
True. It's completely true. So we look bad. I can't remember really. I remember Chicharito hitting the post. I remember that. I remember just a couple of good build-up plays here and there, but we just did not look like the first half team. And maybe you guys are right. It's maybe with the fact that you get all these substitutions, the fact that you get all these different lineups. There's no cohesiveness. There's no understanding sometimes, and I can understand that. But I think I would have imagined this game to have gone a little bit different because it's a week away from the World Cup.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, and especially too. I mean, the names you see, like obviously Lozano, Layun, possibly Hernandez, possibly Fabian. These are some guys that potentially could start against Germany too come Sunday. But you don't see the best out of all of them too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk real quickly about our left back situation, which it all looks like it's going to point to Gallardo starting against Germany. It seems to be that Juan Carlos Osorio seems to trust in him a lot. How do you guys feel about this? Is he better than Layun, or what's going on?
No, I don't think he's better than Layun at all. But it's really hard to say too. Like we're saying with these squads, not really being like as one. Because we keep seeing something different almost every time. Obviously, I think Miguel Layun being in the midfield is working out good for him too as well. But at the same time, I definitely don't want Gallardo starting against Germany come Sunday.
No, yeah, I would agree. Brian, what's your take on Gallardo?
I'm not sold on him, to be honest. I mean, let's go back to that Wales game. I mean, there's a couple times when like he had open space and he makes a cross or like a low pass, and it's to nobody. I'm like, I'm not quite sure what you're looking at. And then the defensive end, I mean, obviously Layun has his faults defensively, but he's the veteran player, so I would expect him to get the nod, unless Osorio really shakes things up and throws him in the midfield,
which could be potential. Our friend Leva from the group chats has said that Gallardo is defensively better than Layun, yet Layun is better offensively. Do you guys agree?
That's respectable. Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah.
Except for that one play, of course. I mean, he didn't.
Yeah, against Denmark. But now I think it's what you want or what you need in this situation. In Germany, what are we gonna prefer? I think we'd rather be safe defensively speaking, which I guess maybe we can think Gallardo is that presence for Juan Carlos Osorio, rather than have a Layun who we know is going to be very versatile, very very strong going forward, but maybe in the back will not look as great.
Mm-hmm.
You think maybe that's what's that's why we're seeing a Gallardo so much? Because I think you see kind of the tweets that are coming out and the reports that are coming out of the training camp for the national team, and you see kind of these lineups that Juan Carlos Osorio is playing. I think one of the players that kind of stands out all the time is the fact that he's using Gallardo in that left back spot. I mean, would you guys come Sunday be more than okay to see Gallardo start over Layun?
Not really, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, it's really tough. I mean, I don't really think so. I don't think I'll be okay with that, to be honest.
Brian?
Unless he's anticipating using a lineup that we're not used to, like a 3-4-3, and having both of them out there, and having Salcedo as a right center back. I mean, who knows? He's done that before.
Yes.
I mean, there's a possibility he's going to try to do something, pull something out of his sleeve. Or maybe he doesn't want Salcedo as a right back, and he's going to put Layun out there because he's played that spot for Sevilla. So, I mean, but I think that's not what we're going to see. I think it might be Gallardo starting, and then on Salcedo as a right back, actually.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that later in this show. We'll definitely give a preview of what we think the lineup's going to be once we get to the Germany matchup. And quickly, just to kind of wrap everything up here with the Denmark recap, I think we all kind of were a little bit bummed out at the results, but ultimately, I think was it really is it really a sign of concern, or is this just something you can just say, oh, it's just a friendly at the end of the day? Dylan?
I I mean, I guess in a sense too, we'll see what happens Sunday and the rest of the tournament too as well. I mean, you can look back at this and you look at it both ways. Like you said, you can say, "Oh, it's just a friendly," or it can show a sign for concern too as well.
Okay, Brian, should we be concerned or is just a friendly?
Well, it is just a friendly, but there's parts of that game that give me a lot of worry. So, I mean, you don't want to be like, man, did we really lose to Denmark like that? No, you got to go. You got to sleep at night. You know what I mean? But there's just parts where it's just like, even fans. I mean, going to 2014, we knew who was going to start, except for maybe a player or two, but we don't know. And it's like, who knows who's going to be coming out against Germany? So I think that's the part that worries me the most, is so much shuffling.
Yeah. Well, just to end this, our good friend Ricky has just wrote it down on the group chat. Juan Carlos Osorio needs to give up his man crush on Gallardo. So we'll leave it at that. So thanks, Ricky, for that that great insight. Great guy, Ricky was on the show last week, and yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I think, like you said, Brian, shouldn't be losing sleep over this. We should be concerned, but hopefully by the time that it comes time to play Germany, those mistakes would have been tweaked out already by the players and the manager. So hopefully that does it. And now let's move on to the second topic of today's show, and that is the big concern that we have yet to lose another player due to injury, and it's another center back with could potentially been a center defensive mid, but ultimately Diego Reyes has said that he is not 100% ready for the World Cup. That means that he is dropped from the squad and Eric Gutierrez takes his place. I'll throw it to you, Brian. How did you feel about this when you heard the news?
It's a bummer. I mean, you don't want to lose anybody. You know what I mean? Especially going back to Araujo against Croatia. I was like, please do not be severely injured. And he's out. And then Reyes is like, I'm not 100%. He's out. And it's like, what's with this team dropping like flies? It's been going back since the Confederations Cup. Saucedo went hurt. Reyes went hurt. I'm like, we don't have that depth. We don't, like, I think Mexico's best 11 can go toe-to-toe with anybody. But when you don't have that best 11, you got to start shuffling people around. It gets dicey, so it's kind of a devastating thing.
And it's funny that you talk about death, and I'm gonna direct this question out to you, Dylan. Is it weird to say, or is it funny to say that Mexico loses depth with the loss of Diego Reyes, even though there's gonna be 23 players ultimately on that roster? Do we still lose that depth in not having Diego Reyes instead of now we have Eric Gutierrez?
No. I don't really think it's crazy. It just really is devastating. That's one thing too. That a lot of some people taking away from the Denmark game too is that, and the silver lining is there was no injuries, so there it is. Obviously a little devastating to lose Diego Reyes too right there. Surely we probably wouldn't have seen him at center back, more as the center defensive mid, which we've seen him play at Porto a lot too. But it just sucks to see that happen to a player who really has shown what he can do. It's just never done it really consistently with the national team too as well.
And yeah, it's a bit frustrating because you think about Diego Reyes and his age, and this was potentially going to be his most important World Cup.
Yeah, I mean it's a different subject, but too his contract ran out with Porto, so it really was going to be a big World Cup for him if he showed out. No telling what kind of Caesar would have come for his signature.
Wow, I did not know that. Diego Reyes, if you're listening to this, you're always welcome back home. But it's devastating. I think, and I think more to maybe people that have followed his career. Especially coming out of America, going to Portugal and the tough times he's had over there too. Going on Espanol, and I think it's devastating on that part too. And then you think about the tactical aspect of everything. Is like, who's going to kind of give you that coverage? And we were talking about this off air. What if another center back goes down? Now you're stuck with kind of in a limbo. Who do you put? Who do you choose? You really trying to put Rafa Marquez in that center back spot, or are you going to try to put Edson Alvarez in that center back spot if anyone goes down? What happens to it's just so many questions that could have maybe potentially been answered if Diego Reyes was still on there. You know?
Yeah, I get it. I get it too as well. It's just, like we said too before we started the show. I think I've seen like people are underestimating Edson Alvarez a little bit too. Because mostly we've seen him at the right back position. Whenever you start to the right back position, he doesn't do too hot. But whenever he gets moved to the center back position, we see him perform so great.
Yeah. And Edson's going to be a whole different topic and a whole different conversation, which I'm pretty sure maybe we'll talk about a little bit later when we start previewing our game against Germany and maybe seeing whether or not he can start that game. But I think throughout the World Cup, he could definitely feature in a couple of spots. It's just going to depend where the coach needs him at that point. So obviously devastating news. But I think how do you feel about Eric Gutierrez, Brian?
Oh, I like him as a player. I mean, obviously, it's not a player for player swap here when you get an injury like that. But at least, I mean, he offers something different in the midfield. I think he's smart on the ball. He's comfortable with his passing. Obviously, with Pachuca, he does a lot. So it's not bad to bring him in. It just, I think Mexico's defensive cohesion is poor. It's not necessarily the poor players. It's unfortunate, just like we were saying, to lose a player like a center back. When the thing is in midfield, we really do have more and more options. So it's not bad that he's coming on. I think he's a good player. I hope he actually does possibly play one of these games, maybe the South Korea game. But yeah, it's not like a player for player swap. So it's bittersweet, I guess.
It is a bit bittersweet. I think he got the news when his first child was born that he was going to be.
Yeah, I heard that.
He was going to be going to Russia. I mean, you can only imagine, right? I mean, on one perspective, it's Diego Reyes and the worst day possible for him to miss out this World Cup, and on the other side, it's you see Eric Gutierrez. They just had a baby and now is getting the news that he's going to play in his first ever World Cup. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right.
But we'll have to wait and see. Ricky has commented on the group chat. He said he is hopping on the Edson bandwagon. So,
good. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to have you on board. It's hopefully you stick around because I'm pretty sure the best is yet to come from that kid. But that ultimately does it. I think we're in safe hands with Eric Gutierrez if he ever features. It's just now let's wait and see whether or not this Diego Reyes will hurt us in the long run because it's there's no one that has his experience and granted his quality either. So we'll have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, these things happen in life and in soccer. So it's let's see how the team can cope with it, which I think they're doing well. I think they're doing very, very well. But before we end this kind of little segment, we do have to talk about the big news that happened yesterday. And that was officially Mexico, the United States, and Canada will be hosting the 2026 World Cup. I know everyone was blowing up Twitter, was excited. Everyone already started. I even started my own piggy bank. I already dropped like $3 in there. So much more closer to buying that ticket. Gentlemen, how do you guys feel? It's especially being here in the United States, where we know it's you live so much different perspectives than you do over there in Mexico. How is it that you guys feel about this news? Brian, I'll throw it to you first.
I mean, it's exciting for sure. It's just going to be different. I mean, it'll be a completely different World Cup. They're talking about the 48 teams expansion. It's going to be a lot of people traveling. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
U.S., Mexico, and Canada. But I definitely am excited to see potentially a World Cup game in Mexico in front of a home team, the home fans. And then if they continue and go to the United States, there is that potential too to have another huge backing for you. So it'll be fun to see how it works out. And as we were talking off air, who knows what's coming next too, in terms of like if they give them a direct qualification, are there going to be different types of tournaments coming up to help get these teams prepared? So there's a lot to wait on for this. So I'm excited for the whole journey.
I think we all are, and it's like you said, it's gonna be amazing to be able to see that. I can only imagine though if you guys, Brian, have you ever been down to Mexico City?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how the traffic is like.
Yes.
Can you
It's pretty
imagine a World Cup day, opening day, how packed that it's ridiculous. I can only imagine what the LA traffic's gonna be like over here.
Yeah.
But I think it's just it's all part of it, and I think you look forward to all of that. So I mean, Dylan, give me your perspective. I know I talked to you a little bit about this, but what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, man, very excited. I'm really excited for this. I really hope that Dallas is going to be one of the host cities. I really hope if Mexico wasn't playing the United States, it would be Dallas because I'd really enjoy that. But at the end of the day, man, just having the World Cup here in the States and me able to travel to Dallas if it is a host city, I would still go regardless. Even if it was a Mexico game, just to get that experience and to have that feeling and for me to be able to say that I've been to a World Cup match too as well. Like Brian said too, with the expansion possibly going to 48 teams, it's going to be interesting to see how qualifying will go about too as well.
Imagine 48 teams. That means anyone could probably come up. We'll probably see a team from the Caribbeans go into the World Cup. Like who knows? Maybe Cuba.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's a long shot, but it's gonna be wonderful. I can't wait. It should be a great event. I think we're all excited about that. On top of that, there is an actual World Cup going at the same time. For us to look 8 years into the future and to already be excited about that, I think everyone's counting down and marking their calendars off already. And I urge you to start getting that piggy bank because it's you got 8 years, but trust me, it's if they fly by. So, here's a question for you before we kind of end this topic. Do you guys think the final should be played here in the United States, or should they be played in Mexico, which would I assume be the Estadio Azteca? Dylan?
I think it's already said that the final is going to be in the United States in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium.
Really?
If I remember correctly. Yeah, I really think that's where it's already like set. Like that's it right there.
What about you, Brian?
I heard. I thought it was something about that too, possibly being in New York, New Jersey. But another final in Azteca would be amazing. But I think what they're trying to do is to have Canada have its home group, United States have its home group, Mexico have its home group, and then after that, they're just going to start getting the games closer and closer and closer in proximity. So I think they might be moving east once they get to the knockout stages.
Damn, that's crazy. I think I would want to fight for the Azteca to have the final. I think there's no stadium like it in Canada and in the United States and in Mexico. A venue that has just so much rich history, and that's seen La Mano de Dios, that's seen 2 World Cup finals. It's you've seen goal after goal and everything that it sees week in and week out with America. I think there's nothing like it. But that ultimate at the end of the day, it's all about the business, and we'll have to wait and see. And if it is at the MetLife Stadium, then let's hope that it's a beautiful and an amazing final. But still, something to really, really, really be excited about. So, just to kind of end on this, we have a real quick question from the group chat, and I think it was interesting. I want to read it out loud, and it's from Leva. He said, "Do you guys think Mexico will win a World Cup before you die?"
I really want to say yes. Like, if they get the staff down right and the players lining up right, and everything's just fitting perfectly, I don't see why not.
Okay, all right, and what about you, Brian?
If you would have asked me in 2009, I would have been like, absolutely. My optimism's dying out a little bit, but being a 2026 in front of home fans with a lot of Mexican talent coming up, and now they're having more and more European eyes on these players, maybe they could string something together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love to be, I'll be 36. So I'd be like, I'd love to still be like completely coherent to watch this and not have a heart attack,
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, wow.
I mean, I remember the gold medal game. I mean, my girlfriend was sleeping. It was like 7 a.m. and I'm like, I'm sorry, I had to scream, and I screamed out when Peralta scored that goal, and I'm just like, I never thought that would happen. So who knows? Who knows?
That is crazy. But no, yeah, I agree with you. It's hopefully, if it's not this World Cup, then for the next couple World Cups to come, hopefully we can see our nation be crowned world champions, which I think they can do it. I'm pretty sure they can.
Hopefully.
So that wraps that up. Obviously, we're all excited for that, and as we get edge closer to that, we'll see where life is, and we'll see how big that piggy bank is. And yeah, ultimately we'll have to wait and see. But everyone's excited about it, as they should be, and should be great revenue for all three countries as well. If you're looking at that in that perspective as well. But now it's time to push everything aside. It's time to talk about the big one. It's time to talk about Germany v Mexico. The World Cup has started, as we mentioned today. Russia got a 5-0 victory over Saudi Arabia. What a good game that was. And Mexico will have their say come Sunday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. I believe that's 10 p.m. Central time for you, Dylan, and 11 o'clock for those out in the East Coast. The biggest game we've been anticipating for quite some time now. The game that we all think, I don't know, this kind of stigma that it's either do or die at this point, which really it really isn't. There's still 2 games after that. But really, it feels like we're about to go up against a giant, and we are. And in a sense, it maybe feels a little bit kind of like a final. Gentlemen, how are your nerves coming into this? How confident are you? Dylan, I'll throw it to you first.
I'm really nervous, but I feel okay about it. Kind of neutral, We'll see how it goes, I feel like I feel either more confident or less confident once I see a lineup too. Obviously, a lot of speculation of some lineups too going out right now, but we'll see how it goes. I feel okay at the moment and nervous too.
Okay, Brian, how are we?
I've been incredibly nervous ever since the draw.
I think we all have.
To be honest, that's like we were saying off air. The one name I hate to see is Germany. I would have taken a France or Brazil, because I think who knows? With those games, I mean, Mexico did beat a France in 2010. So
yes,
but Germany, the way they play scares me. Especially with the inconsistency of Mexico. And I don't want to harp and make it sound like it's all Osorio's fault, because the players have fault too. But I mean, outside of CONCACAF, they have not impressed me that much. And but I'll say this though, the players sound confident.
They do.
I mean, I don't know if it's false confidence, but I remember Vela was talking about his move over to LAFC, and they were interviewing him about Germany. He's like, oh, so what? We got to play a big team. Who cares, So I'm like, I mean, if they're mentally prepared, then maybe I should be less worried.
Yeah, and it's a good thing you bring this up. I don't know if I've ever seen a group this confident, this united under a manager in a World Cup in quite some time. I don't even think with Piojo you saw this kind of we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it all. And Piojo said it himself too. We're going to win the World Cup. That's our aim. That's what we're going to the World Cup for. We're going to go and win it. Right. And these players are saying the same thing now. But there's this you kind of get this vibe of them. Something's different. They seem more confident. They seem more willing. And like you said, Brian, it could be fake confidence, but I don't know. It's just you see kind of what's going on. You see these players in social media. You see how they interact with each other. There's just something about this group that seems just a lot more different in a good way, and that I haven't seen in my lifetime. And I don't know if you boys would concur with that or not.
Yeah, and you see what Carlos Salcedo says today too. We should respect Germany, but they don't have a Messi, Ronaldo, or Neymar too.
No, they have a Royce, an Özil, and a Neuer. So
yeah. We'll see how that's gonna go forward too.
I mean, and I get it, and it's one way to play it off too. But look, those are 3 great individual players that can make a team be amazing. But I think, like Brian said, they are just such a powerful team because they literally play as a team. They play for each other. They know each other. They could be playing with each other for 2-3 times and they will pick it up right away.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. It's the German way. I mean, they're big, they're loud, they're tough, and they're just so amazing to watch too when you're not going up against them. But
right.
um, it probably is the worst opponent we could have picked. But I think it's gonna be the perfect test whether or not we're really made out of what we're saying. Because I think it's one thing to talk the talk. Now, can we walk the walk?
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I mean, it's ridiculous to kind of try to play them down because they're Germany. But I like the way this team is kind of focused in the way they're going at it. And I don't know, do you feel the same way, Brian? Do you think there's something different about this 23 that we haven't seen before?
I'm sorry, did you say from Germany or from Mexico?
From Mexico.
I mean, like I said, individual talent wise, this is a really good Mexico team. But heading in 2014, we had a very consistent team going, and it's just the whole point. The whole thing is, not to harp on it, is like, are they going to be okay if it's a 1-0 in the 10th minute? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are they going to have that chemistry? Like, no, it's fine. Hey, we've done this before. That's the only thing that worries me. Like, if it's a 2-0 in the 18th minute, I mean, I might have to walk away. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, there will be panicking. There will be, is this going to be another 4-1? Could this potentially be a 7-0? But I think there's something different about this team, and the way that they've been able to manage this. I think you even see that. I think I read somewhere that Juan Carlos Osorio is taking kind of this kind of psychologist to kind of talk to the players, get their mindset away from the whole quinto partido and get themselves kind of visualizing themselves going all the way. And you talk to these players and you see that they're like, no, we're not here just to get past to a fifth game. We're here to compete. We're here to go further. We think we deserve to be in that final. And I think if the psychologist is actually getting to them like that, then I think it's a great thing, because now I don't think it's looming in their head as much as, we got to get to the fifth game. It's more about we have to show and perform and get to the final.
Yeah. I mean, going back a little bit too, the way I see it too, I've obviously, I'm relatively kind of a new fan to the whole soccer game. I fell in love with the game watching the 2010 World Cup. Obviously not knowing a thing that was going on, but the one that sticks out too, whenever we say that these players trust Juan Carlos Osorio too. These players are basically trusting him and everything. This is actually the first coach I've seen go through the whole cycle. The whole World Cup cycle. From being there from the start of qualifying all the way to the end. We're going to see that with Juan Carlos Osorio.
Don't worry, it's the first time we see that in a while too.
Yeah, but how often do you see that with Mexico? Obviously the press is what's crazy too. With the way the press is in Mexico and everything on the players, and especially on Juan Carlos Osorio. For the longest time. But you also kind of see that in Germany too. Like Joachim Low has been there for, as far as I can remember, at least 2 World Cups. This is the second one already with Germany. So in my opinion too, I'm thinking to myself, when is the federation going to have the trust in that coach as well as too, for having somebody as long as Joachim Low, as Germany has too. And so that's just something that I want to see in the future too as well. But it's such a tough task, such a tough position too, whenever it goes towards the press and also the federation too, and the fans, always criticizing Juan Carlos Osorio, criticizing the players, So it's just something that I look forward to too as well. And I might be going a little off topic here too, but that's just something that I see. That's something that I notice. That's something that I want, because obviously we've seen Germany obviously winning the last World Cup, and then obviously one of the favorites again this World Cup.
Yeah. Well, that's Germany for you. They're always gonna be favorite. They're always gonna have talent, but we'll have to wait and see. So, now that we're talking about this, let's give me your predicted lineup, gentlemen. Brian, I'll throw it out to you for. Actually, no, wait. I I want to read something out first because Brian recently featured in an article for Cesar in which you were able to pick your 23-man roster and you were able to give your starting 11. And I'm a little bit curious about some of your picks. So let me read off your 23.
I have explanations to them too.
Okay, great. Because I wanted some explanation. Of course, goalkeeper Guillermo Ochoa, Alfredo Talavera, and Rodolfo Cota. Defender Paulo Aguilar, Edson Alvarez, Cesar Montes, Hector Moreno, Miguel Layún, Carlos Salcedo, and Alejandro Mayorga. Midfielder Jonathan Dos Santos, Marco Fabián, Rodolfo Pizarro, Héctor Herrera, Andrés Guardado, José Juan Vázquez, Diego Lainez. Forwards, Raúl Jiménez, Javier Hernández, Carlos Vela, Jesus Corona, Irving Lozano, and Oribe Peralta. Now, that alone, me reading some of those names would cause a lot of questions. But before we even ask any questions, I want to go and talk about your starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
It is a 3-4-3 with Salcedo at right center back, Edson Alvarez as the center back, and Hector Moreno as left center back. On the right wing back or right mid, you have Miguel Ayun. In the middle, you have Hector Herrera, Andrés Guardado. And that is what this is the most curious one for me. At left mid, you have Mayorga.
Mm-hmm.
You have Mayorga left mid, and then the front three are Chucky, Tecatito, and Raúl Alonso Jiménez. So if you were the coach and if you were to play in this World Cup right now and you were fielding your players, why is it that you are putting Mayorga? And why are you calling him up?
Because I'm going to go back to the previous Confederations Cup. Two players that went out there was Alvarez and Mayorga to train with that team.
Correct.
And if we look back, Alvarez wasn't even a go-to player with Mexico. He became that player later on. Obviously, he had a good Gold Cup. The reason why I like Mayorga is just because if he also went out there with Alvarez, and if I was taking over this team, I would have consistently played those two as the opposite of Osorio. So there was a reason he brought those out. They're two young players. I would have liked to see a process with them, and I personally favor the 3-4-3. So, and that formation can also flow to a 4-3-3 with Mayorga being the left back, and then Layún shifting over to right mid, and then Salcedo being
the right back.
The right back, right. So that's why I put him out there. I also liked what he did with Chivas when he did play in the Conca Champions. And to be honest, like we're having this debate with the left back. What are we doing now with Gallardo? People say he's too offensive. Some people say no, he's just right. So I kind of like how Mayorga plays. He doesn't need to go forward. He's not really technical, but I think he would just do the job to be done. To be honest.
It's just interesting because he's not even in Chivas anymore.
Right, he's over to he's already on Necaxa.
And it's like I don't know. When I read Mayorga, I was like, okay, I was questionable. That was the one thing that popped up. I could understand why you could take Rodolfo Cota. I could see why you would take a Diego Lainez.
I would definitely take him.
I could see why you would take him, and it was just Mayorga, like why him? But you explain yourself, and I understand now why it is that you're taking him.
Mm-hmm. Now, could were there other options available? Yes, obviously, but I think the one thing we are harping on a lot with a lot of these teams, even dating back, is kind of like a hierarchy with a lot of older players too, and I've always kind of. Like with Alvarez too, like how he finally got those World Cup qualifiers under his belt, and now look at him. I mean, I think if you do that too with Mayorga, the reason why they were both called up to the Confed Cup was they have something to offer. So that's kind of why that was my reasoning behind that.
Yeah, I know. I understand you. I just thought it was funny, and I read this yesterday. I was like, wow, this is perfect. He's gonna be on the show tomorrow. Let me press him a little bit on this. But yeah, no, it's understandable. But now with the 23 that Juan Carlos Osorio has, give me your predicted starting 11 for Sunday.
So for me,
Yep.
okay. I think it's gonna be a 4-3-3. You're gonna have Ochoa. I hope. Who knows? But I think it's gonna be Ochoa. Right back, Salcedo. I think it's gonna be Ayala, Moreno, and then Gallardo. And then the midfield, I think the defense mid row is going to be Alvarez, and then Herrera and Guardado, Lozano, Cheech, and Vela.
Okay. Interesting lineup. I've seen that been thrown around a couple of times too. Dylan, yeah, what's your starting 11?
I was thinking the exact same thing Brian said, except I probably have Jimenez over Cheech.
I can see that too.
Interesting.
He did play pretty good on the wing against Germany last year. I think he had a really good chance at scoring, so he might get the nod. He might get the chance to play.
I think the only thing I would change is I'd probably take out Ayala, put in Salcedo right there, put Edson as right back, and play with no center defensive mid instead, move up to a cam, bring in Vela into that cam spot, and put Tecatito on the right.
Yeah, I would actually see that against South Korea.
Yeah, but I mean, as we all know, I think I've proven myself time and time again to be the worst predictor at these things. So I never
we
really
all are, to be honest.
Yeah, well, especially when it comes to Juan Carlos Osorio, I think no one knows. Maybe he doesn't even know either, too, until it's time to actually, fill it out. But let's hope. I'm okay with any of those two lineups previously mentioned. Whether Cheech gets the start or Jimenez, I'd love to see Edson start. I think he has something to prove to the world, and as long as he gets those game time, especially against Germany, I hope this kid really takes advantage of it.
Yes, I agree.
So that's our predicted lineup. Let us know whether you agree with that or not, whether you're listening to this right now live or whether you're on the go. Just tweet at us, always at the Eagle iPod. Let us know what you guys think your predicted lineup is going to be. Now, gentlemen, now that we kind of gotten this out of the way, whether or not who's going to start, what do you guys think that the game plan needs to be against Germany in order to get a result? Because a result is got to be a 1-1 draw, a win, maybe potentially even losing just by one goal. Because like Dylan said, at the end of the day, it could come down to goal differences. So, Brian, I'll throw it to you again. What do you think the tactics have to be for this Mexico side in order to go toe-to-toe with this Germany?
I think to be honest, I think you need to be attack heavy. At least starting out to kind of set the tone. That's why it's very important to have, like we were saying against the Denmark game, you want to see your strongest team. So that's why you need to have a Lozano out there and possibly Vela or Tecatito to kind of shake things up. But you can't just assume your defense is going to be ready for an attack. So you kind of have to be wary there. But I think you need to feed those players early on, and utilize their pace and dribbling ability. You can't really be scared right now. It's pretty much, go big or go home. I mean, this is no friendly, to be honest.
Okay, understandable. Dylan, give me your tactics for Sunday.
Yeah, I really think the same thing. Let's see, Leva in the chat said defending counter, but I don't. To be honest, the way the defense has been playing, I don't really think it can depend on the defense to hold up that much. And we've seen some good counters too from this team, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to really go out and frustrate this German team and come out and take advantage. Some of them German defenders are slow. With Vela or Tecatito, whoever is going to start right there. Then you got Lozano on the left. I feel like we can take advantage of those. Of the wings, seeing if we can get some crosses in or cut insides, take a shot on goal from there too as well.
Okay, I hear you guys out. Then this is the only thing that I can maybe criticize because you, like you said, we're gonna keep feeding our wingers. We're gonna use and abuse their speed. At a certain point of the match, do you think Germany's just gonna kind of just say, okay, these guys are just playing right out the wing. All we need to do is kind of cover this guy. Do you think maybe that's a little bit too straightforward, or do you think maybe the Germans won't pick it up as fast?
I mean, to be honest, I mean, like we were looking at the previous game they played. Obviously, Mexico was allowed to have a lot of possession, but unfortunately, the defense was like butter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the one thing we didn't see a whole lot of was that Mexico's ability, because Lozano didn't play, Vela didn't play in that game. What was that that strong attack on those wings, and I think that's Mexico's strongest feature. So if you've got that, I think you need to try to at least try to exploit them as much as possible. It's hard to exploit Germany at all, but at least like I said, to set the tone of that game.
Okay, understandably. Now, defensively, what do we need to do in order to make sure that we don't concede, or if we do, try to concede as few little goals?
There's no mistakes, really. I mean, as hard as that's going to be already, just gotta have no mistakes. Gotta have communication in that back line.
Do we trust in our center backs and in our back four to get the job done?
I mean, you would hope so. I mean, the last time they played Germany, you had Alanis as a left back, but you did have Moreno out there. You did have Araujo out there in Layun. It was a little scary how easily Germany did get past them. But you would think they would learn from their mistakes. And if Osorio is the student of the game, he says he is, you would hope that those things are corrected.
I agree. I completely agree. You would hope that it gets corrected and hopefully we'd see a better back four. Um, I think the toughest part is knowing the fact that we don't have these natural fullbacks, and I'm just kind of worried what Germany can do with their wingers. You know, we don't know exactly who's going to be filling the side for them, but I mean, can you imagine a Marco Royce going up against an Edson Alvarez or a Carlos Salcedo right there in that position that maybe they're not so naturally keen on?
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's what what Dylan said. Also, is communication is going to be humongous on that. Although I will say that they did leave off one player that I thought was going to kill us in
Leroy Sané.
Yeah, and I thought he would have been the one that would have murdered Mexico, but he's not on there. So maybe there's a little bit of
a blessing right there.
Yeah, but there is they do have Timo Werner. That guy's freakish. So that you need to communicate. That's the one thing I think they screwed up on the previous one.
Yeah, hopefully the communication's gotten much better. And like I think we mentioned that you see the players and how they interact with each other, and I think there's more of a family sense right there. So it should play off in the end. So I think it will be an interesting matchup to see how Mexico can cope with all the pressure that Germany will eventually give them, and how well we can counterattack and how we can counter their pressure, and whether or not we can put them under pressure as well. So it should be interesting. I want you guys to tell me, who do you think is going to be the most important player on that pitch for Mexico come Sunday?
Ochoa.
Okay.
We're gonna need that same Ochoa that played Brazil in 2014, making all those ridiculous saves.
Brian?
I was gonna say Ochoa, but now I'm thinking also whoever's wearing the captain band. To be honest,
yeah,
you better have their heads up. And like I said, I hope it's not false confidence in this group, and it's just because they're excited because the brothers get to go and everyone knows each other and they just want to have a good time, or is it confidence, the fact that hey, we can put something together, and that's what I'm hoping is the case.
And I think we can all agree that they can. It's just a matter of them actually doing it.
Right.
I think there's enough talent on that pitch. There's enough talent in that roster, and needless to say, some fans may kill me after saying this, but it's our manager's pretty talented himself. So I know a lot of people will disagree, but if you try to be a little bit more biased and you see, you know his story and you know how much he's trained for this, and if you've seen his results, I think you can concur this manager has something going. So
Well, if he wants to prove it, this is the time.
and I think that's what he said. He's like, this is what I've been working for my whole life to get to a World Cup. He's like, now that I'm here, it's time for me to show it. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, gentlemen, let's see how confident you are. I want you guys' prediction come Sunday. Dylan, I'll throw it to you first.
1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Great result. Brian, your prediction for Sunday.
I'm gonna say we're gonna see a repeat of Brazil 2014, Brazil versus Mexico. Both teams are gonna go head to head. It's gonna be 0-0.
0-0. Another wonderful result.
Freaks everybody out with his flair and his stopping ability.
Oh my God! Can you imagine that? One, that's great for Ochoa. Two, that's a clean sheet that's gonna go on the record. And three, it's just gonna be amazing.
And then Liverpool's gonna be like, we might want to sign him this time.
Yeah, we might, maybe. It depends. You know what?
8 years later.
8 years. You know what? Just I've always seen it this way. United sells De Gea to Madrid, and then Ochoa comes to United, and there. Fantasy for Ivan completed. But okay, 0-0. That's an amazing result as well. I am just gonna throw it all out there. I'm just gonna chuck this out of the window, and I'm just gonna say 4-0 to Mexico.
God.
Wow, that's some Dos Santos brothers confidence right there.
That is some Dos Santos brother confidence right there. I'm going 4-0. Mexico takes on Germany, and we eradicate all that bad mojo that we had against them in the Confederations Cup. You heard it here first on the Eagle Eye podcast. Mexico 4, Germany 0. So
there will be some serious morning drinking if that happens.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I'm pretty sure there will be. Can you imagine? Oh my God, Mexico City would explode.
I would the 0-0. I think they would.
Yeah. I can only imagine with a 4-0. But I'm going with that. I am going with that. I'm sticking with that, and I can only hope.
Who got scoring? Who'd you have scoring?
I'm going 2 Lozano. I'm going 1 Chicharo, and then Guardado off a penalty.
Oh, I was gonna say maybe Raul gets subbed in. He gets his silky smooth penalty in the 89th minute.
Oh, maybe. Hey, probably.
It extends his perfect streak.
Yep. That'd be a lot more. And he's going off to Wolves, so I'm pretty sure he's excited to showcase what he can do.
For sure.
So I'm going off with that, and that pretty much wraps up the preview. It sounds like we're all pretty confident in getting a result. Not a win, even though I've chucked it out there in the universe, but a result, which I think is very important going into this World Cup. You have to remember that there is 2 more games after this one, and whatever the result may be, you kind of have to keep your head high and you have to keep them strong, knowing that you have a match against South Korea and Sweden still pending.
True, very true.
Yeah, it really is.
So it's the beginning of what should be a beautiful, beautiful tournament. We already got a little bit taste of it with Russia today, even though some people will say Saudi Arabia did nothing. It was still a World Cup match, and it was still pretty fun to watch. Who's gonna complain about a 5-0 game when it's not your own team? So, can't wait. Hopefully, you gentlemen are ready for that matchup. It's bright and early, but it could have been at 1 o'clock in the morning. I still would have been up in time to watch it. Nerves are slowly starting to build up even more. It's just amazing. It's a great feeling. I know the whole nation is feeling that as well, and I think we're all ready to go and see this team take the field against what we should know is going to be a wonderful, wonderful Germany side. Anything else you guys want to add on to this preview for the Germany-Mexico game?
I don't know if we'll see it against Germany, but one thing I'm really excited. I can't remember exactly who it was. It was either Ochoa or Guardado saying that they have a secret weapon or some secret tactic that they haven't showcased yet, and that they're waiting for the World Cup. to see
Oh, I didn't hear
for
that
us to
one.
see. Yeah, yeah, and so you know, we're sitting here talking about like tactics and stuff, and I'm over here in the back of my mind thinking like, what could it be? What could it be? So I mean, I can't remember if it was Ochoa or Guardado that said that they've been hiding this like secret weapon. For the waiting for the World Cup, they haven't shown it yet in the friendlies and anything. So, something I'm looking forward to. I'm not sure if it will be against Germany, but we'll see what happens.
You got a
A
secret
se-
weapon. You better bring it out against Germany.
A secret weapon? Are they gonna go like pterodactyl formation or something?
Yeah, right.
I have no idea, but that's something that came out from the press that, like I said, I can't remember if it was Ochoa or Guardado. Like we have a secret weapon, and so we'll just see what it is.
All right. Well, I mean,
Talavera is striker.
you never know. You can never discount some of these secret tactics. Wow. Well, I'm gonna be tweeting about it come Sunday if something's not going right. I'm like, where's that secret tactic? Now it's time to use it.
It was Diego Reyes. He's not here.
Oh. It's like he's actually him when he pulls off a mask of Gutierrez. Reyes was here all along. That should be interesting. All right. So nothing more you guys want to add?
Well, I just want to say one thing. You were talking about the psychological aspect of Mexico, and the only thing that I have confident about this is the fifth game thing. It seems like they always fail at the round of 16 because they're thinking of that game. And the reason why they usually do pretty good in group stage, at least since 2010, is the fact that they have they have leeway in the group stage to have another game to play and get those results. So I think, at least looking at Germany, you still got 2 games left, so maybe that's going to ease their anxiety at least till the knockout rounds.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Hopefully, like I said, this psychologist has put their mindset on getting away from that fifth game stigma and more into this whole getting that deep run in the tournament that we so much want.
Right.
Well, gentlemen, it's come to a conclusion. We were excited. We're ready to go. The World Cup is here. Germany is only a couple days away. Brian, we want to thank you for coming on to the pod. It's always nice to introduce new people, and we've always been a huge fan of you, and always wanted to bring you on to the pod. So thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for inviting me. It was a good podcast.
No, we're always we're always gonna want to bring you back. I think you were the right balance between me and Dylan.
Good deal.
So we'll definitely have to talk to you for you to come back once the Apertura starts. I think you're gonna have some pretty good for us to talk about as well. But you know, it's also we want to say, you know, for what you're doing with the community, with the Liga MX English and the L3 English, all of that. You know, keep it up. But we're, like we said, we're huge fans, and I always like to ask this to people that are involved within the community and that do such a great job, like yourself. You know, just to kind of, you know, if you could give an advice to a young person, to someone that maybe wants to pursue kind of what you're doing, you know, what exactly advice would you give those?
Yeah, for sure. If you want to pursue, you know, whether it's Mexico or not, or you're just pursuing football in general and you want to write and be in that, don't overstress yourself. Don't do too much, and then don't sell yourself short. Don't let people take advantage of your ability once you get confidence going on. You just got to have fun with it, but you know, make it what you want to do too. So that's pretty much my advice with that. You know, just because watching these games are fun. Watching Mexico and Liga MX is fun, but take it seriously, but not too seriously.
Great words from the great man himself, Brian. And that pretty much wraps it up for us here. Thank you to everyone who joined us in the group chat. Chicken Biscuit, Leva, Ricky, Christian, I know I saw you right there, even though you changed your name. It's just everyone that tuned in today to watch the live show. Thank you guys so much. Without you, there would be no show. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to us on Apple, iTunes, and SoundCloud. Remember, if you guys ever miss a live show for whatever reason and want to take us on the go, make sure you guys do, follow us on there. And if you guys also want to keep up with the latest news of not just L3, but also Club America, we guys are also on Twitter at Eagle Eye Pod. Brian, where can they find you in Twitter?
Twitter, Brian RMW, just all one.
All in one. Make sure you guys do follow him. And I think he tweets more better stuff about non-soccer stuff than he does about soccer itself.
I'm a jack of all trades.
Yes, you are. Yes, you always crack me up whenever I comment on something and you take that picture of that mute button. And that always cracks me up. I don't know why. I have no idea why, but it always cracks me up. But Dylan, anything else you want to say to our guest?
Oh, just thanks again. Thanks again for coming on, man. It's a pleasure having you on. You know, every guest we have on is always a pleasure to have on too. We're looking forward to you coming back on again whenever we start the Apertura, like Ivan said. And thanks for the advice. Because that's something that I want to pursue too in the future.
Yeah, no problem.
All righty. That does it for us. We'll get out of you guys' hairs. Thank you again for everyone who joined. It's been episode 23 of the Eagle Eye podcast. And here we go. Mexico 4-0. You guys heard it here first. And, let's go. Until next time, guys. Take care. Vamos, Mexico.